And staying on the theme of school improvement plans, we have the Rolla High School team, Dr. Pritchett and gang. Let you introduce the rest.
Well, I guess greetings from the high school. Thanks for having us. You guys know Dr. Herman and Mr. Smith, and so they'll come up in a minute and talk. Just going to real quick, I know we've been here a while, and even though you had a break, it's the hour's getting late. And, I don't know, Jesse might have some homework. I don't know. So
Probably doing it in his Google Classroom.
he may be
right
doing
here.
it over there as we're talking.
He's
So.
old.
What we're going to try to do real quick tonight, going to kind of run through just kind of the overarching goals of what we try to do at Rolla High School, and then we're just going to kind of give you some snapshots of some of the things we did that came out of last year, because, you know, obviously when we presented to you in November, we were in progress, and so we want to give you a few highlights of what occurred after that, and then talk to you just again about some highlights of things we're trying to do this year. So I point you to this first slide. The 5 bullets up there listed are our goals that we set at Rolla High School. Just to tell you a little bit about how we set those, our staff met and developed those as a group. The leadership team at the high school kind of condensed and finalized all the comments, but we spent a couple hours on one of our CSD day times, faculty meeting times, just trying to kind of condense our goals into what they need to be, and then the leadership team then took all that, compiled all the information, and put it together. So you have at your desk, I put it there before you came down, a folder that says Rolla High School on it, and it has those goals in it. We're not really going to specifically talk about each goal and each strategy, but you have that. Also, you have the placemat that has been, I believe, well, I'm pretty sure that the elementary and middle school probably talked about theirs, and I know junior high just talked about theirs. Obviously, those just show how our goals fit into the district as a whole. And so when you need some fun leisure reading some evening, you can sit down and go through that. But that's for you to look at. And, of course, those folks in the community can go to our website, obviously, and pull those off the website. The next few slides are just going to show you some highlights of what occurred last year. Dr. Herman's going to come and start, and then we'll move on from there.
Okay, we continue at Rolla High School to work on improving attendance, behavior, and grades through the use of incentives, rewards, as well as recognition programs and interventions. Some of the recognition programs and interventions we've talked to you about before in the past. I'll just mention a few of them briefly. We do weekly recognitions where we go to classrooms and deliver cookies to classes that have no tardies and no absences. That's always a fun thing for us, and today we happened to get locked out of a room because they knew we were just going to go in there and taunt them because they didn't have perfect attendance. But because they always make sure and tell us when they do, they want to send an email or whatever. So we really enjoy that. We have monthly grade level attendance rewards, pride grade rewards. CORE provides us with a CORE luncheon for our students, the CORE cards. Last year, Karen Daly, who's on the CORE board, wanted us to come up with a program for recognizing students that are just showing improvement or just doing the right thing, just kids that have improved attendance, improved grades, just doing the right thing and maybe flying under the radar. So we have a Students with Pride luncheon. We have 3 of them a year. We recognize the students from first quarter at the beginning of second quarter, and we continue that third and fourth quarter. And that's a great recognition for students that have just shown improvement or may have been doing the right thing all along that just might go under the radar. We mail home recognition cards. We do have a monthly PBS recognition that recognizes students, and there's a drawing, and we also recognize teachers with that. We have our Superstar Bulldog Award, which you guys should be familiar with. We've done that for several years. And our Top Dog Award at the end of the year, where we recognize sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Our interventions are growing constantly. We have advisory time, we have pride time and after-school tutoring, we have attendance and grade letters. Mr. Smith and I look at attendance daily. We have an attendance committee that reviews attendance weekly. Every Wednesday afternoon we have an attendance committee meeting. We have team building activities. The PBS committee is always working. They meet once a month to come up with other programs or tweak programs that we have to get students involved in school and students to feel supported and have pride at Rolla High School. Our students are getting involved in community service projects through Pride. Link Crew provides us with a great opportunity to orient our sophomores to the high school, and we also have sophomore, junior, and senior speakers that assist in advisory. As you look at the chart that's up there, that is just a snapshot of attendance. You can see as we've introduced these interventions, we've seen a consistent increase in attendance at Rolla High School. We like to think that's because we're establishing relationships with our students and making it a nice place to be. There's going to be variety because there's a variety of students, and this is looking at the overall picture of high school attendance. If we break that down and we look at a specific cohort group in attendance, we find that as students attend Rolla High School through their sophomore, junior, senior year, that cohort group, their attendance improves as they attend Rolla High School, which is kind of a unique circumstance because generally high school is one of the times when apathy can set in, and you have, it usually occurs there at the elementary level, and at the high school level you'll have some issues with attendance. But these cohorts, their attendance gets better. The same's happened with student behavior as we've introduced PBS, Pride, and Advisory. We've seen a reduction in behavior events amongst students and amongst their cohort, and a reduction in the number of events with repeat offenders. So we feel like our interventions are really making a difference. It's providing students with the support and the resources that they need to be successful at Rolla High School.
All right, the next slide is just going to be another thing that we're proud of. This is our failing grades in the last 5 years. And that's not just a small difference in those numbers. That goes from 300, and this is at the end of the school year. It goes from about 320 down to last year we were at 192 at the end of the school year. We told our teachers just last week that 0 would be okay too. We can work on D's. But that obviously helps all sorts of issues whenever you lower failing grades as far as attendance and credits and things like that we deal with at the high school. We attribute that a lot, obviously, to the Pride program that we've had. Our teachers have really had a more concentrated effort on making communication with those students. Three or more F students are something that we really concentrate on. We talk about them weekly. We have a list that we update every 3 weeks that we make contact with that student, with the parent, with the teachers. And it's more about organization and getting them ready to try to figure out how to get that F up and see that you can be successful if you just start doing some work and then they figure that out. So obviously the last thing we attribute that to is the student success, or the student actually performing. And we're always looking for new strategies. I was still on that last slide just for a second, sorry. We're always looking for new strategies to improve that. Just this last week in our CSD day, we took an hour and each teacher got a Google Sheet that we shared with them that was also shared with myself and Dr. Herman and Dr. Pritchett. And it showed every student that had a failing grade in their class. It showed the percentage, the number of missing assignments, and the teacher also then wrote their plan on how the student's going to raise the grade up within the next month and a half. Obviously, some of them may not, but it's kind of like an individual plan for each of them. So when we meet with the student, we don't have to get a hold of the teacher. We can just go right there and say, hey, your teacher says you need to do this. And then there's no lack of communication there. So you can go on to the next one now. This here is some testing scores. The first is our EOC score, something we're very proud of that we continue to work on and always adjust our curriculum and try to get that. And obviously that falls into our APR that Mr. Hounds is going to talk about later. The bottom right there is our ACT results. And the right side of that chart is our 2015 grads, this thing that we've always looked at. We look at our grads compared to the state. The left side is what was new last year for us, and that was the one full day, April 28th, where every junior in the school took the ACT. You probably heard a little bit about that. It was a day that we had to blow up the whole schedule. We had to schedule with RTI, with the junior high. Our sophomores took the ASVAB, the juniors all took the ACT, our seniors did graduation practice, and then they had a senior activity day, and then we had it all ended with the end of the year assembly. It was a day that we were scared to death of, but it turned out really well. And obviously, when you have juniors take the ACT that usually would never take it before, you're scared, you're a little worried about the results, what they will be, but obviously compared to the state, we performed really well, and we're very proud of our students and our teachers for that.
So I'll just pause for a second here and tell you about these two. These guys do some incredible work with our students. Our team, administrators and counselors, we meet every week. And when I first got there, our weekly meeting was a lot of the organization of what we were doing, and that's to be expected because I was new to the position, and we were all trying to get our feet on the ground. But I told our staff this when we were talking about the Fs on Monday, is that if we meet maybe an hour and a half, probably over an hour of that is conversation about students and what we can do to help them. And I attribute a lot of that to Josh and Amy and the work they're doing. So kudos to them, and they keep us all, they keep me going. A million things going on at the high school, but I'll tell you, students are first with the things we do. And I'm always amazed. I'll mention something to one of them about a student that I've heard something, we need it, and they've already checked into it. So they do a fabulous job. The next few slides, I want to point you to a few of the things that we've got going on, just to kind of give you an update of where we're headed this year. The first one, obviously, we've had AP classes for a long time. And again, I should preface this a little bit. This will fall under the academic side of things of what we're doing, the college and career piece that we're working with and working for. Listed up there are some of the AP offerings we're proposing, or you will hear later. We're proposing 2 more for next year. That continues to be a really big thing for us, along with the dual enrollment, which is listed in that second bullet. We have 20 dual enrollment classes right now at the high school. We have 11, an additional 11 at RTI and RTC. And Nancy's clicked on there to show you some of those. But it's just incredible that our kids have the opportunity. Yeah. I've had several parents have come back and said, man, if I had thought it through, we'd have taken, well, I think maybe Charlotte was one of them, said if we'd have really thought it through, we'd have taken more of those, because now they're paying the college tuition and realizing, that maybe it's a pretty good idea. So, there you go, Nancy. So I got you here. All right, so I highlight up there too the RTI, RTC classes, because really we've had a great partnership with them. Matt and Lucas and Keith do a good job, and really we've worked well together. But those, sometimes those get overlooked, and I don't want them to get overlooked tonight, because that's an important piece on that college and career path. It's some tough stuff too. We'll talk to kids in the hall, or see kids in the hall talking about their classes, coming back from RTI or RTC, and I'm amazed, because it's some good stuff that they're doing over there. So just want to mention that to you, that we continue, the early childhood that they talked about earlier. Matt and I have been talking about that and how it affects our program, because we have early childhood, there, and as a great opportunity for those kids to start in sophomore, junior year. If they're really interested in it, they can jump into that program. So those kind of things have been a real plus for us with RTI and RTC. One of the new things, too, that we've got, and you've heard about it, you've heard some things about it, is our new biomed program through Project Lead the Way. And I've got a short clip here that I'm going to show you. Dr. Keith Peterson is our instructor. And so we sat down with him and just kind of had him, ask him to kind of explain in his words, because he's now, he went to training this summer. He's been in now for a few months. And so I'll have Nancy click on that, and we'll listen to what he tells us about that.
The biomedical program is 4 years, where the students are exposed to basically a variety or a stair-stepping curriculum that takes them through things that offer information about medical, investigation, lab research, and then also finishes it with with some epidemiology and a capstone to where the students actually go out into the field and work with professionals in the biomedical profession. The first thing I would say is hands-on. The curriculum is outlined for the students, but they get an opportunity when they go through a project to actually go off into different avenues, because the first year of biomedical science is a sampler. We do some epidemiology, some crime scene investigation, lab research, and we also look into different illnesses, because the first year surrounds the mysterious death of a lady by the name of Anna Garcia. And so the students have some different avenues where they could have actually caused her death, and they go off in different areas and research them independently. And then one group may not have thought of an idea that another group has thought of, and they can collaborate back and forth. And it provides a good lab experience, hands-on, working together as a team. So far this year, surrounding the initial part where we had the mysterious death at a crime scene, we brought in crime scene investigators from our local highway patrol, our Troop I. Then in the future, we actually go into an area where we start looking at cardiovascular disease and heart disease. We're actually going to bring in some surgeons who perform heart surgeries on a daily basis to actually do dissections with the students when they get a chance to dissect the heart. And then we also, in this particular case, Anna Garcia has type 1 diabetes. So when we get to the diabetes section, we're going to have an endocrinologist come in and work with the students as well.
So you can see, you talk about college and career ready. That hits both
Yeah.
both paths right there. And so, as you know, that's stage one. Over the next 3 years, we'll implement 2, 3, and 4. That's the plan anyway. We've already been having discussions with with teachers in the science department about who would like to teach that, and we think we've got that nailed down. But that's just a real plus for our students, and we've had some other things that have come out of that which have been real interesting this year. And if you really want to know about some of it, you can talk. Jesse was on a team that worked with the CSI group here with another project, actually, but it tied in so beautifully with the project Lead the Way, the biomed, and so it's for another day. A couple other bullets there that I just point out to you in terms of the college and career ready path. One of the things that came out of our survey, the survey that we gave to the staff said, hey, how can we improve, was, the collaboration part. Monica spoke to it earlier about making sure that we're meeting and talking, and we're doing that, but to do it better. One of the things that we've done with our leadership team last year, we spent all last year covering our APR report and how we can make that better. Many teachers didn't understand, what it really meant. They think it's just something that DESE deals with and superintendents and stuff, but really it boils down really to what we're doing in the classroom. So we did that last year. This year we're doing a book study on thinking, and that sounds kind of funny, but the leadership team is going through the book. We're meeting about it and talking about it as a leadership team, and then we've asked the staff also to read certain parts of the book, and then we meet at our faculty meetings and go through that. The book is on how to make our students think in the classroom. And so it's been a real challenging. I mean, you give a book, 200, 300-page book to a teacher and say, hey, we want to read this over the course of the year. You can imagine how that was received. But they've done a good job, and we're breaking it up into parts and really challenge them to make our students think beyond just what 2 + 2 is and that sort of thing. So the last thing I'll just mention is the SGM work, and I know you've heard some about the student growth measures. That's been another way that we've been able to boil down, and it really goes back to that individual student issue. And so that's been a good thing that we're continuing to develop and work. The next thing I want to talk about a little bit is our technology. And just again, because of time, it's going to talk a little bit about, we did a survey with our teachers and with our students over technology. And rather than click on a bunch of the data slides, we'll bypass that. But I want to tell you 2 things that really stood out to me. One, when we did the teacher survey, and we can show you the data if you want to see it, but the thing that came back to me that was very interesting was that our teachers, about between 75 and 80%, said that they collaborated with other educators at least every week throughout the year. And I just thought that's telling that they're using technology to reach out and collaborate with other educators, not only in the district but around their circles in the state. And so that was a really eye-opening bit of information. The student data. There was a couple of things that really stood out. One, we asked them what device they used most often. Most of it, obviously, is the district provided device. We had a few that brought stuff in. Phones, number one, obviously. But then the district provided stuff. It kind of was equal across the board. Chromebooks, laptops, iPads. We met with the Principals Advisory Group that we meet with monthly. And Ginger came over and we had a little technology survey discussion. It seems like Chromebooks are really where the students are headed. iPads for the high school students are somewhat prohibitive of what they need to do. That's what they're telling us. Not that they're bad, but it's hard to transfer files. Google helps that. But that was one of the interesting things that came out of that. We continue to survey our kids and see what they're using, what they like. We've talked a little bit about devices. We have 2 online classes, too, that we're continuing to push forward to our students, both in the English department. We have a journalism composition class that's online that students can take, and we have another English digital literacy type thing where they study actually different forms of media. And so we're continuing to explore ways to increase that for our students. You've heard about Google Classroom through some of the others. The last bit, one of the things that I just wanted you to hear from teachers that are using the technology in the classroom. So we've got one more short video for you, talking to some of the teachers about how they're actually using technology in the classroom. The interesting thing is, before she clicks on it, the very first scene that comes up, and Jamie, you're going to think I planted this, but this last spring, we had the opportunity to Skype with Congressman Smith in one of our social studies classes. And again, Jamie's going to think that I set this up because he's here, but I didn't. We just happened to go by the classroom at that time, and you'll see what I'm talking about. His daughter's in it. But just what a neat opportunity. You know, Congressman Smith was in Washington, D.C., and we're here in Rolla, Missouri, and you'll see. So here's how we're using technology some in the classroom.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. What's your name?
Chloe. How did you get interested in politics?
How did I get interested in politics? You know, I started out at a very young age just because I was upset with how the federal government was, well, the federal and state government was trying to tell my family of what we can and cannot do on our own family farm. I grew up, we have a family farm in our family for 4 generations.
Google Classroom allows the students to access classroom material 24/7. So I can push out an assignment or an announcement, and students can access that, work on it here at school or at home. They don't have to worry about having a flash drive or a way to save that. If they're working on it on a school machine, they can open the document back up on their machine at home, and I can give them feedback in real time while they're working on their assignment, whatever it may be, an essay or some other assignment. Every day when the students come in, they have a question of the day, a warm-up question, and it's related to the topic on hand that day. And so they'll answer the question. They do it on Google Classroom, and then I can go back and I can evaluate their answers, and that gets them thinking about the topic for that day. I also weekly give them an essay to write, so I'll give them the prompt in a Google document, and they answer it in the Google document, and I can make comments, I can make edits, I can return it back to them with a grade, or I can return it back to them and allow them time to edit that document and then resubmit it back to me. So it allows me to interact with the students while they're actually doing their work. There's an opportunity for them on like a discussion board to respond to a question, and I can either set it so they can see each other's question or each other's response and respond to one another, or if I would rather, I can keep it private just between the student and myself.
Students, I just talked to a few, and they just love, and I'm going to come back to that word consistency, because they're all using the same program. They can share it with the students in the art department or even outside of the art department, and it allows them to work at their own pace. So I could get a quick pace. I could move a student pretty quickly through it if they wanted to.
And the other part of it is like, with Google, you have a place where you can comment on a shared document. So when they share their portfolios with anyone, we can comment right back to them and let them know. I think feedback has gotten a lot quicker with being able to use Google Classroom as opposed to not having Google Classroom. I think that's been a real positive.
I also use Twitter in the classroom occasionally whenever there's something that is ongoing and live, or to kind of just get an idea of what politicians are talking about for a government class. In the past, I've used Twitter to kind of see, okay, what are Senator McCaskill and Senator Blunt's positions on a certain issue that may arise, and compare those to with, say, Representative Smith's. Or even look at President Obama and what his Twitter feed says. So Twitter kind of gives you that, like live, right now, what's happening in the world perspective, and that's another helpful use of technology in the classroom.
So just a few things. You saw social studies, art. Keith talked earlier about science. The neat thing about this has been that teachers are saying, okay, how can I apply it to what we do? And that's really the driving force, and it's been neat. And so that just gives you a small a small picture of what we're doing. That covers a few of the academic things, a few of the technology things. The last thing I just want to touch base with you tonight, and Kelly has kind of alluded to a little bit, is the transition. Obviously, August of 2017, that's the date we're looking towards. Just a few of the things we've been doing, just to kind of give you an update. As Kelly alluded to earlier, construction meetings have been kind of the key thing for us right now, just because it affects us that way. I've met some with some of the 9th grade staff already to just kind of bridge that gap a little bit. Let them know that we're nice people over at the high school too, and that we don't bite too hard. And so we've done some of that. Met with social studies, met with some math. We continue to do that, continue to plan that. We've also, it's interesting. We've had to meet with our own staff because there's the same apprehension on our side. Well, there's people coming over, and what's going to happen, and are they, what are we going to do? And so we've had a lot of those meetings and discussions. And the final thing is, we're beginning to talk about what we're going to do next year. We were sitting in the office last week, and all of a sudden it dawned on us that, they're going to start building out here outside the main office window, and the office may not be available. So, again, we just had to kind of start thinking about how we're going to handle all this. And so we've kind of just got a notebook, and somebody will stop and say, hey, have you thought about this? We're like, well, no, but we're going to write it down, and we will think about it. And so we just continue to move forward on that. A lot of things begin to fall in place now that we've got the base scheme of how the building's going to look and how many rooms we're going to have and where they're going to be. So that's helped to kind of expedite a few of the things that we've been kind of waiting on. So that's kind of where we are. That's kind of what the high school is doing this year. It's been a great year up to this point, and we're open to answering any questions if you have any.
Very good.
I'm really impressed with how you guys did the ACT ASVAB day last spring. I know that was probably a logistical nightmare, but you did great. I know Jake loved his part. So.
Yeah, he let us know. That was a great day.
He loved that day.
Jake, for those of you that Jake Jameson told me is maybe the greatest day of his high school career was ACT day.
The ACT day, because
Yeah.
he didn't have to take it there.
It was a fun day, and we've set the bar high. That's what worries me, is for the seniors anyway. So, all right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all.